So now we move on to Azure's gameplay, which this is where I'm going to start talking about some of my problems with the game. There's some stuff that's really good here, some stuff not so much, and I'm going to start with one of those. As I was alluding to earlier, there is a mechanic in the game called bonding points. Excuse me. The way that bonding points work is the game does not tell you it exists, and there is no way to track it within the game itself. Maybe if you data mine as you're playing, you probably could, but aside from that, no. So here's how it works. As the game progresses, you can, maybe like spend a little bit of time with some of your characters, or like with some of your party members. I think it's like if you answer certain questions the right way, you'll get points. You can go and like buy them shit, like you can buy them a gift and give it to them, and that'll increase the gauge. And the way this pays off is at the end of the game, in the final chapter, it's before the final dungeon. I think it's before, it's like you get all your party members back, everyone's just kind of chilling for a second, and excuse me. And you kind of have a time where it's like, okay, I can go kind of talk to everyone and see what's up. And if you have maxed out one of the person's bonding points, you can get a special scene with them. However, you have, is it 5 party members? It's 3 girls, 4 girls and Randy. So yeah, because Lloyd doesn't have one with himself and there's none with Dudley. So there's 5 people you can max out. Can you max out Kia? You don't get a thing with Kia. I think she has bonding points. But regardless, there's 5 people you can get a scene with, but you only get one of those scenes. You either have to save scum and reload your save, watch online, or play the game multiple times to watch all of the scenes. And at the end of the scene, you will get a special combo move that you can do with that party member that does a fuck ton of damage. So there is a gameplay reward as well. So the problem I have with this, the reason it bothers me so much, I don't like the idea of there being hidden mechanics that the game doesn't tell you about. It's the fact it never alludes to it. You can't track it. That's just not good. It's like I said, it feels like they played Persona 4. We're like, hey, social links are cool. What if we added them, never told anybody about it? That's dumb. Why would you do that? But here's the thing. Some of these scenes, excuse me, very innocuous. And if I had not, because I have seen them all, because I watched a YouTube video that had them all. It's if you watch some of these, oh, okay. Missing this changes nothing. For example, I'll kind of go through them. Lloyd and Ellie, it's a pure romantic scene. I've loved you the entire time. I love you the entire time. Let's get together after all this shit. Okay, it's sweet. Lloyd and Noel. She gives him her dog tags, and he's like, man, this is really sweet of you. I kind of like the, you know what? This seems like something you'd see in a movie, a really romantic gesture, but you don't see me that way. So what am I talking about? And Noel just gets really quiet, and he's like, oh, you like me, don't you? Mm-hmm. You did this as a romantic gesture that I have now mocked. Mm-hmm. Well, shit, I'm a fucking asshole. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna give you my dog tags as well. So, wait, so does that mean you're doing it as a romantic gesture? Do you like me back? I don't know. I sincerely don't. Don't think of this as, I am reciprocating your feelings. This is, I respect your feelings, and I'm glad you told me. And after all this is done, and I don't know how much of this there is to do, but once it's done, you and I will have a talk about this, and we'll see if there is anything. Because I don't know, because I haven't really thought of you that way before, but, it's not a bad idea. I really like that. Now, it doesn't add anything to, really Noel's character, and kind of the same with Ellie. You can skip those and miss nothing. But, they're nice, especially if you ship them, and I won't lie, I am a Seeker ship stan. Although, Lloyd and Randy might be the best pairing, but, we'll talk about that in a second. So, then you get Tio's, which is half romantic, and I hate it, and it's weird, But the other half is, oh yeah, I got a letter from my parents who I haven't seen in years, and I want to go meet them, and I kind of want to bring you. And because this is really important, and I'm nervous. I'm like, she got a letter from her parents? Why have I not heard about this elsewhere in the game? Oh my god, this sounds like a really good scene for Tio, and like talking to like her family after all the shit that happened to her. Wow, that sounds like really good shit for her character. Why is that hidden behind a hidden mechanic? And if I if I did someone else, I would be able to see this. What the fuck? You get Wheezy. Wheezy's entire backstory is hidden behind this shit. And he was the only one I didn't get. I got access to everyone else. I even played Azure with a guide because there is important shit you can miss in Azure. And I'll talk about that in a second too, including this. And I wouldn't have been able to see it. But I saw it and I was like, this is his backstory? This is so fucking interesting. Holy crap. Why is that nowhere else in the game? Like, to the point where I consider it non-canon. Because through my playthrough of the game, I did not have access to it and was unable to see it. So all this super interesting shit about Wheezy being like a shrine maiden and was like a vessel for like a demon or whatever the fuck was going on, and the way the people of his village like revered him and then they like tried to kill him and shit. I'm like, what? Non-canon. It's, he's just whatever then. Like, Risha, the homegirl who's splattered across my chest right now. You get her backstory, which you kind of get an idea of throughout the game. It's just, Risha's is like the finishing touch. Her and Randy's are basically the same. Here's the finishing touches of their backstory and the end of their character arc, and they're both really, really good. Risha's, there's like maybe a hint of romance in there. Like, it feels like her relationship with Lloyd is, there's mutual respect, mutual attraction, but I think they're both like, maybe this could work between us, but at the end of the day, I'm a cop and you're an assassin. Like, you still have other stuff you want to do, like you really want to become a dancer, like you don't think you deserve happiness. But you do, because you are still a human being. And you don't have to be a killer. You don't have to just be a killer. There's more to you than that, and you should be able to explore that. I don't know if a relationship between us would work, but who knows? But even that's more like, that's not really how the situation reads. Like with Noel's, where it's very clear, this is romantic. Maybe. But it's a more romantic kind of scenario. Lloyd and Risha this is the end of Risha's character. And she has, like, there is a important kind of respect and friendship with her and Lloyd. Maybe not romantic, but who knows? And then in, like, other games, I was talking to Clay about this the other day, and now I'm sidetracking a bit. They've kind of waifuized Risha. Like, every girl in Reverie has a moment with Lloyd where they're like, Lloyd, by the way, I'm a love interest, and none of us are technically the canon option, and I really, really like you, and it's important you remember that I love you. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, okay, like, with Ellie, I get it. With Noel, I get it. With Tio, I hate it. Why is this here with Risha? Like, even when you do her final bonding event, it doesn't really read like that. Boy, this is fucking weird. And then you have her in Kuro, where her boobs are even bigger than they are in fucking Azure. And like, I remember just like seeing her in her yin up, and I'm like, bro, her entire ass is just hanging out. This poor girl has been like way too sexual. Like, she's gorgeous, don't get me wrong. I think in terms of just like attractiveness, arguably the most attractive character in the series. But I'm like, man, like, they really are going into that part of your character, and man, like, you've just been waifu-wise. I don't even know if that's a term, but I feel like you kind of know what I mean. I know what I mean. But anyways, back to the bonding points, why it's ass. The finishing touches of Risha's character, gone if you don't do this. The finishing touches of Randy's character. Randy is the main character of Trails to Azure, by the way. Like, Tio and Lloyd are both kind of the main characters of Zero, Azure is Randy's game. And he's great in it. Like, we'll talk about the narrative, but I fucking love this dude. It's so good. It's so interesting. And, like, the end of his arc and just, like, the full context of his character, you won't get it if you didn't know about this mechanic, or if you did, and then you picked someone else. Game loses a full point for this, because it's awful. There's also, while we're talking about hiding important character shit behind hidden So some Trails game, I think pretty much all of them do it, there are hidden side quests. So, like, you kind of have to go out of your way to really talk to people to find these, or, you know, you play with a guide, and the guide's like, alright, the game doesn't tell you about this quest, this is what you gotta go do. And you know what? That's fine. I generally don't have a problem with it. Because they're just, like, here's some extra shit you can do, and the game just doesn't tell you about it. It kind of incentivizes you to go explore and talk. Completely fine. So there's a hidden side quest where you can talk to, like, a reporter, and you kind of go over some shit. And it's in, like, chapter 1 or 2. Then, if you do that quest, you get a sequel, where you can find him again, you guys can kind of shoot the shit, and talk about some stuff. You're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Then, I believe it is in the final chapter, like, really close to the climax of the game, where, if you've done the first 2 hidden quests, you get a third. And this one is Lloyd and the reporter working through finding out who is the killer of Lloyd's older brother, Guy. Now, granted, in the main story, and it's maybe like 20 minutes after this, they do still reveal who the killer is, so you will find this out regardless. But getting to the part where Lloyd sits down and puts together who murdered his brother is optional content. And it's not just optional, like you can avoid it if you don't really care about it, because that's one thing. It's hidden. And it's a series of hidden quests for something really fucking important. I don't understand why. Like, this, for a game that is praised so heavily for how good the fucking story is, why are they hiding important parts of the story or the character stories behind shit you won't know about unless, like, you're playing with a guide or you data mined the game to learn that it's in here? To me, that is inexcusable. Like, that is fundamentally, like, I don't know if I want to say fundamentally broken, but it is, like, to me, it is mind-boggling on a fundamental level. And it's, like, decisions like that where I'm like, you're so good, game, and then you do this shit that other games don't do. Like, say what you want about, like, Cold Steel and Bonding Points. The game tells you where they are. And it's like, yeah, this is the part of the game where you can just hang out with people. And you can learn a little bit of shit about them. And if you max out a social link, you get a nice little scene. And it doesn't, you don't, at least the ones I didn't feel like, wow, if I missed this, I would miss important parts of your character. It's just like, no, you just kind of get to hang out with them. And it's, like, kind of dope. That's cool. That's what it should be. What the fuck, Azure? I needed to vent about that for a moment. But, I mean, other parts of gameplay, because I didn't even talk about, like, gameplay. This is 14 minutes. I've just been talking about this one thing I hate. So let me talk real quick about something I like. It gave me Palm. It gave me Palm Party. It's been called multiple things. It's a Puyo clone, and it's a little half-assed. It's like, it's match 3 instead of match 4. You can only move, I think, like, up and down. Like, you can't, like, move to the side and, like, do the weird shit you can in Puyo. It's fun. It really is. I like playing Palm, and then, like, if you do it all, you get a Master Quartz. From what I remember, it's a really good one. It's back in Cold Steel 4, and I was like, I gotta play Palm, I gotta beat everybody, and I did. It was back in Reverie, I was like, I gotta beat everyone, I gotta play Palm. So I'm like, it doesn't, I can't really counteract the bonding point problem because it gave me Palm, because Palm is not that fun. I love it, don't get me wrong. I'm glad it's here. It's not something that, like, I feel like this rectifies a fundamental, mind-boggling problem. But I am glad it's there. When it comes to the actual regular gameplay and combat, there's two big additions that the game added: Master Quartz and Bell Quartz. So a Master Quartz is, this has a massive Sepith value, and I think it's sometimes going to be like multiple colors as well. So because it works like Sky, where your spells are determined by the amount of Sepith you have per line, and I think Master Quartz counts for all your lines. Excuse me. So essentially what this did was, it is a lot easier for you now to get the spells that you want, because some of the shit's going to be really fucking expensive. And Master Quartz will also have additional abilities, like you can like maybe do more damage, like maybe certain elements will do more damage. I think something like, oh yeah, in like a bad situation, your speed will go up, yada yada. So it adds another layer of customization, which Trails is really big into character customization. Master Quartz is a great fucking addition to the series. Bell Quartz, similarly, are big Sepith values, and it's also, when you cast a spell of this certain color, the delay afterwards is halved. So you can cast so Ellie, you put, I think it's the Jupiter Bell is the one, like put that on Ellie, and then she gets a spell called Sparkdyne. If you build her right, which is a lot of damage, Sparkdyne, and then you immediately go again and try to cast Sparkdyne, and then you can just go. The stuff you can do with bells and Master Quartzes, incredibly fun. And this is such a good thing they added to the game. It's like, it doesn't counteract the other, like bonding point thing, but this is the kind of thing that would. It's like, you don't lose as many points because shit like this, really, 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 really fun. But in addition to some of the new toys that the game gives you, it also gives you a couple new characters. Noel and Wheezy, excuse me, who are like guest characters a couple times in Zero, are now fully playable. Now, Dudley and Risha, who are also, I think Risha is a guest at one point in Zero. I know Dudley is. They do join fully at the end of the game, but given how late they joined, it feels like they're still kind of guests, but Noel and Wheezy are full. And I really like the way they're implemented, because the prologue is Lloyd and Noel, and then I think Ellie joins, and then the next character you get, I believe, is Wheezy. It's either Ellie Wheezy or it's Wheezy Ellie. But it is like, you don't get the core 4 SSS members at the start like you do in Zero. Actually, like, because of story reasons, they're kind of drip fed back to you. So it kind of makes sure you get to use these other two characters, see like how their crafts work, kind of how their stats feel like they're supposed to work before you really start experimenting with them. So that way it's like, all right, now that we've given you back everyone, you now know how these two work, so you don't just use these 4, and you use Noel, you use Wheezy, etc., etc. The problem, I don't think either of them are that good. Like, I think Noel is okay. I remember there were moments I was like, okay, like, she's a relatively good support, but not nearly as good as Ellie or not nearly as good as Tio. And Wheezy, so there's a part at the end of the game where he kind of reveals, like, I've been holding back for plot reasons, but now I'm, like, coming back and I'm, like, super strong. And I was like, oh, okay, because you kind of sucked, and I could just not get you to be that good. But hey, I have heard that once, like, this shit happens, you are, like, one of the most busted characters in the entire series, that you do obscene amounts of damage, and I can't wait. Why does he still suck? I don't know why. I tried to build him as, like, okay, like, he's a caster, his S-Craft, excuse me, uses arts, so I'm gonna build him and give him, like, incredibly high ATS, so he's an absolute unit. No, he still isn't really doing that much damage. He just sucks. Like, the game gave me 2 new characters to be like, all right, they're going to be really cool, trust me. They're both just okay. So I spent most of the game, once I could, just using Lloyd, Ellie, Randy, and Tio, because I had no reason not to. I don't think I used Dudley once, because I was like, I maybe did, like, maybe once, just to do it. I threw Risha in every now and then, because the thing about Risha is she's really fucking good at everything. She's fast, she has good evasion, she's unga bunga, and she can do, like, ooga booga, magic damage. The problem is, though, I'm like, who do I get rid of? Because her evasion isn't as good as Lloyd, and I need him and Randy for Burning Rage. She can do more damage than Randy, but I need him for Burning Rage, and if it wasn't for that, he also is the Wild Rager, so we can just keep getting CP back where she doesn't have that. She's a very strong caster like Ellie and Tio, but she doesn't have any like really good supporting crafts or really strong supporting S-craft like they do that make them feel like necessities. She's really good at everything, and it doesn't even feel like, like jack of all, master of none. You're like, no, like whatever role you want her to do, she will excel at, but it's, who do I get rid of? Because they're all also really fucking good at what they do. And it feels right to be using these for, because that's what I did in the last game. And I mean, I still use Estelle and Joshua at the end, because of course we use Estelle and Joshua. But aside from that, and even then, I was still like, I still really like using these for, like, I feel like they complement each other so well. But even then, because Azure is weird and doesn't make good decisions, even these four suck now. Like, in Zero is one of the most fun games in the entire series because your crafts are so fucking good. They can come in so clutch with like how strong they are or some of their after effects. And then you start Azure and everyone is nerfed into the ground. Like, I'm sorry, why does everyone feel so fucking weak now? Lloyd's Burning Heart. In Zero, it's like, okay, like his stats, it's like strength, speed, I think defense, at least strength and speed get a 50% increase for 5 turns. Well, that's really good. In Azure, it's, okay, so it's a 25% increase and it only lasts for 3 turns. Oh, and also in both games, after that 5th turn or 3rd turn, Lloyd is fainted, which means like he's dizzy, and if he gets hit, he gets critted, and he can't do anything. So it's a really bad status condition. So you use it on the first turn, and if I remember correctly, it's you use it, that counts as turn 1, then you have turn 2 where you can use it, turn 3 where you can use it, and then you get fucked. So it felt like, wow, it's not nearly as effective, and because of how, like, short it lasts, it feels like if I do it, I'm basically screwing myself over unless I keep re-upping it, which is just not worth it. Whereas in Zero, you're a fool not to use it because it's really good. And then later in the game, it upgrades to where it was in Zero. So, like, why did we regress? Like, yeah, with all the training I've done, I've gotten just as strong as I was in the last game. The fuck? And it's not only Lloyd. Randy, I think it's like Salamander. It's like, this has like an 80% chance to burn. Oh, that's really good. Nope, goes down to 40. Crash Bomb has a 100% chance to blind. Fuck, that is clutch. Nope, down to like 30. Tio's Absolute Zero. 100% chance to freeze, which you get very late in Zero. Really ridiculously good crap. No, that goes down to like a 25% now. It'll upgrade just like Randy's will, but I mean, you get fucked. And then Ellie's Holy Bullet, which is, it's an AoE. It'll heal a little bit of health. It'll give everybody, I believe it's 20 CP. I think it's one of the best supporting crafts in the game. Like, of like the entire series. Holy Bullet is stupid good. The one downside is, if everyone's getting affected by it, everyone is bunched up, which means they can get screwed by AoE attacks or spells, but it's kind of worth it. In Zero, it now costs 60 CP, and it doesn't affect Ellie. So not only can she not get healed, it essentially doesn't, because it costs 40, but it gave 20 CP and she's affected by it, it effectively costs 20, which is what made it so good. Now it's just like, oh yeah, like, no, it's still good, but it's not nearly as broken. And I get why this happened, because these crafts were so fucking broken. Zero's kind of busted, like, the SSS is cracked. And while it makes the game incredibly fun, because you can do stupid bullshit all the time, it felt like, okay, we did not balance the game, so we kind of need to nerf everything to make the game more fair. I get that. But the fact that we just did all this shit, and now everyone is weaker, and the game never really addresses it. And it's not even a sense of like, oh man, like, we're going against stronger enemies now, so in comparison, we're weaker. It's like, no, you're just weak. And it makes a lot of the game just not feel that fun. Because I remember, like, playing it, I'd just be, like, fighting enemies and bosses, and, like, I'm just not enjoying this as much as I did in Zero. And because of how noticeable it is. My old characters kind of suck, or it's like some of the, like, stupid shit is gone, and the new people suck. Now, I would say once you get to about the final chapter, maybe a little bit before then, that's kind of when everything starts to come together. It's like, okay, we're now stronger, we have better, like, court setups and such. Our crafts have gotten back to where they were before. We feel strong again. And the game in kind gives you incredibly hard fights. I don't even say incredibly hard, because a lot of them, like, I still beat on my first try, but they weren't a cakewalk. Like, I had to, like, those Arios fights, the Steel Maiden fight, I had to earn those victories. They were fun as fuck. First try? Yes, but I don't consider them easy. It was like, no, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, I have to make sure that things go right. I am taking chances. Because there are decisions I am making where if I guess wrong and they, like, the AI just fucks me over, I'm screwed. If they pop their S-Craft right now, I'm screwed. But I am going to take this chance. Or other times where I'm like, I can't take the chance. I want to. I really, really want to. I can't. I cannot justify why that's a good decision. I gotta be conservative. I gotta be... Ugh. I love that shit. And I felt like, yes, I have gotten strong again. The game is still responding. So it still felt fair, but it was so fun. But man, like, the first maybe like 2/3 of the game was fun, because it's still a Trails game, and I still like Trails combat and all the customization. It's not like I was like, wow, this is awful. Oh, now it's fun. It was, boy, this is not nearly as fun as the last game. Why are we so weak? Like, this went from, woo, to, oh, okay. And then by the end, woo, like, you get there really late, but you do get there. Let's see, was there anything else I had to say about that? The major nerfs, yeah, I kind of talked about those. The endgame being really fucking fun. I don't think I actually, like, talked about the final dungeon. I might put that in the narrative. I don't remember what I wrote about it. But I should say, what I love about the final dungeon is it's a series of mini dungeons. With, like, one big dungeon, there's, like, basically you have, like, a hub dungeon, and then you go to an area, like, okay, this is the boss you're about to fight. Now you're kind of in their mindscape. Like, if you played Persona 5, essentially, you have a big dungeon, and then you go into someone's palace. And the palaces are actually really small here, but it's like, this is a reflection of their mindscape. Go in here, fight them. Arios, he was a former cop, and is someone who feels incredibly guilty for the things that he's done. So his palace is a jail. Shirley is a fucking psycho, and she is someone whose personality can kind of turn on a dime. So it is this, like, beautiful field with, like, rainbows and, like, nice clouds and shit, and then it can just become, like, this incredibly hostile place if, like, you fuck up. Sigmund is, what was Sigmund? Sigmund's was just hell. It was just Gehenna. Because he is a soldier. He's seen the, well, he's a Jaeger, but it's like, he's been on the battlefield. He has seen hell, and this is where he feels like he is going to go when he dies, and he thinks he deserves it. That's what you do. And then there was Wald. I don't remember Wald. I don't care about Wald. I'll talk about that. I don't even have much to say. There's just a point where I'm like, I'm going to talk about the villains. I think my notes just say, Wald sucks. So fuck him. I don't care. But, like, holy shit, I love that idea of, like, the mini palaces. It made the final dungeon so cool and so memorable. Man, like, if Kuro had done something like that at the end, oh man, that final dungeon would have been incredible. But as it's, Kuro's final dungeon kind of sucks. The tree doesn't. I mean, that's something I can really give to gameplay. And then I have just a list of the bosses that I really liked, which is Arios twice, Campanella, and then Campanella when you're playing him in Palm, because that's a boss fight and it's incredible. The Steel Maiden fights. Oh, excuse me. And then I think the Aryan Road fight is if I said it's a top 5 fight in the series, I think I would be underselling it. I think it's in my top 3 along with Louvet. And I kind of like Louvet from SC, and I think the fight with Ren and Pottermodder from SC. Like in terms of just like the atmosphere and the like plot relevance, those 2 fights beat it out. But this is such a good boss. To me, it is the best fight in the game amongst all of these bangers. Like, I think these are all arguably top 10 fights. They probably would all make... the Camp Vanilla Palm one probably doesn't. Even then, it might, just because of how unique it is. But all banger fights. So, when it comes to gameplay, overall, I actually don't have the score. No, I do have the score. There it is. To me, gameplay is a 3 out of 5. Because I would say I liked it more than I didn't like it. It loses an entire point because of bonding points. I have to make that clear, because that's dumb fucking bullshit. The other point is just, I don't like the new characters. I don't think they're that strong. I don't like the way that the old characters were nerfed into the ground, and how the early game feels like it just kind of suffers. But once the gameplay gets going, and you can really use the new tools at your disposal, the Master Quartzes, the Bell Quartzes, and it starts giving you bosses that you feel like you need this shit for, it is a blast. You know what? I take that 3 out of 5 back. I'm going to say a 3.5 out of 5. Because I do that. I do operate in like half a points. I am going to bump that up to a 3.5 out of 5, because really talking through it, I'm like, the first chunk of the game, I don't like how weak we are, but it's not that bad. And man, the bosses are just too good. So, okay, I'm going to officially say 3.5 out of 5. So at this point, we are at an 8.5 out of a potential 10. 8.5 out of 10 so far. But then I'll see you in the narrative, and we'll see how that goes.